Hello, Express Entry Law Facebook group members and those of you who are watching this as a recording on my Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer and ex-immigration officer, who is coming to you live once again for another Express Entry live question and answer period. So I have a bunch of questions that listeners have sent in that I'm going to be going through here at the beginning. And then once I've done that, I will be answering those questions of you folks who are live attending right now. So as you're jumping on here, leave a comment, let me know where you're listening from, and we'll give a few minutes here for everybody to find this live Facebook feed in their timelines and to join and be a part of this. So people are starting to pile in right now. So as you get in, leave your, just say hello and where you are listening from, as I love to see where the listeners are all tuning in from. So I'm going to myself log in here and find the page so that I can actually see who's leaving me comments. All right, we are just about there. Okay, bear with me here. Okay, great. Oh, Ralph, there we go. Ralph is here. Ralph, it was awesome going up to Edmonton this weekend to spend time with you guys and Bella and little Jayden, Mark. It was so awesome. Do you know what? I'm gonna, while the other people are logging in and letting me know where they're listening from, I'm gonna share an image with all of you guys, if I can get to it quickly here, of me and my little namesake. Let's see if I can share this, and then I'm gonna put it up for everyone to see. Let's see, there it is. Okay, give me a second. This is going to be awesome. There it is. Okay. I had the opportunity of going up to Edmonton this past weekend to spend some time with Bella and Kai and Ralph, who are past clients, and little Jayden Mark, who was 1 year old. And he is the newest member of their family and a Canadian citizen by birth. And if you watch in the YouTube channel, you'll see that I did a past episode with Bella where she talked about the experience of trying to immigrate to Canada. And I had the pleasure of working with her and her family in doing that. But they had a really tough go. They had a lot of hurdles that they had to overcome. There was literally miracles that they had to accomplish that had to actually occur in order for them to get their permanent residence. And Bella was so happy. She told me that she was going to name her child after me. And she did, which I thought she was crazy, but at the same time, unbelievably humbled because of that. And so let me show you. Here is myself and little Jayden Mark up in Edmonton just this weekend, and he is awesome. He is just the cutest little kid, and I am completely honored and blown away by the, I'll slide it over here, honored and blown away to have had him named after me. So that's so cool. That was my weekend. It was an awesome weekend. The weather wasn't so great. There was snow starting to drift down in Edmonton, but fortunately, it didn't stick around very long, but it still made visibility trying to drive home Saturday night not very good. And it was a 5-hour drive from my house up to Edmonton to where Bella and her husband Kai and Ralph lived and live up there. And we weren't quite able to make it back after the party, so we had to spend the evening in Red Deer and then make the rest of the way down the remaining 3 hours. But it was awesome. So anyways, there's little Jayden Mark. Wonderful little new Canadian, and it was a wonderful experience going up there and spending some time with them. As always, guys, this EE Live Q&A is always sponsored by the Canadian Immigration Institute's Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. And that guide is the guide that I have made available, that I created myself, that is there to help you guys walk through Express Entry safely, to know what to avoid. And really, it's like me holding your hand through the whole process. So definitely give that a consider. And I'll just post, if you want to go in there, it's easy enough to find the actual link It's pretty much everywhere, but just to make it easier for everyone, I'll just post it in the link here in the feed if you're interested in accessing that. All right, and for those of you who are actually listening to this, I had a 60% off deal that I offered for the month of, well, really for a lot of the summer. And for people who are watching this live, and this is a special bonus that I leave for everybody that actually watches these videos, I am continuing to offer the course at 50% off for those who reach out to me privately and request it. So only those who are actually paying attention to the videos and see this will know that the 50% off is I'm continuing to give it to people who actually reach out to me via messenger or email and specifically ask for it and say that they heard me offer it here in the group. So the people who take the time to participate, to ask questions, and to be involved will be rewarded. Okay, so I'm going to pull this one off so it's not in the way anymore. And let's see where everybody's tuning in from. So those of you who are live, and we've got a bunch of people that are now watching live here, let me know where you're tuning in from. So Ralph obviously is in Edmonton. That's awesome, Ralph. Let's see. Abhishek's from India. Welcome, Abhishek. And the rest of you, yeah, don't hesitate to post where you're listening from. Okay. Let's see. I think we are just about in business. Okay. All right. So at this stage, what we're doing is I'm going to always start with the questions that my listeners send in live, and remember, that they send in advance. Remember that if you want to send a question that you want answered, then all you need to do is send me an email to mholthy@stringham.ca and put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and I will undertake to answer it. Candace, I see you're from Trinidad. That is awesome. And we've talked a lot about the fact my son, any day now, we're hoping he's going to be getting his instructions to move. Sanjay's Abu Dhabi. Awesome. Awesome. Salem is living in the US. And so is Razib. Where are you guys living? Which state are you living? I'm always curious. Okay. All right. Well, let's get to this. Without any further ado, let's start off with these questions. So the first one is from Jayden, and Jayden says, thanks for giving us your precious time. I have one small question. The address printed on my pay stub, I'm going to put this here, the address printed on my pay stubs is different than my other Canada docs, including bank letter, the police clearances, etc. Will there be a problem due to that address mismatch if I attach my pay stubs, or do you suggest not to attach them? So note the pay stub address is different as my employer never bothered to change while I was traveling to other states for work. All right, so Jayden, this answer is actually pretty straightforward. When you are applying, if you ever run into a situation where something you're providing wouldn't make sense to an officer, I always provide a letter of explanation. So when it comes to this, the instructions from IRCC says that you need to provide a reference letter and pay stubs if available. So if your pay stubs are available, I would include them. And then just in a letter of explanation, I would just say, please note that my employer never updated my address on their electronic files. And so my pay stubs show my address as being this, but my address is actually how I listed it in my personal history. So that's how I would address that one, Jayden. Good question. Okay, one down. This one is from another frequent listener, Envis. Envis says, I have a question, and I'll make a note here as well, the time. Envis says, I have a question about the documents submitted for EAPR. If the documents are not in English or French, should the translation paper be submitted with a scanned copy of the original document, or is it okay if we scan a certified copy of the document done by the public notary? Thanks a lot. And this is an awesome question because people have had their EAPRs actually refused for failing to do this properly. So the answer is 100% you're going to include a scanned copy of the original document as well as the translated version, as well as an affidavit. But some of you may say, well, where's this from, Mark? Okay, I'm going to pull this up here. There it is. I'm going to pull this up so that you guys can see it. And I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to move this over here. And I think that should be okay so that it's not encroaching too much on my ugly mug here. I think you guys can still see everything. All right, so in here you can see, once we go right here at the beginning of this, oh, and sorry, those of you who are wondering, Mark, where are you going? This is the EE this is the express entry completeness check website. So if you type in this information here, application, subject to the express entry completeness check, if you type in express entry completeness check, IRCC, that'll probably be enough in Google to take you here. But those of you who are actually watching, I will, and I'm slowly getting a little bit more proficient with this. I'm going to just flip back to our screen here, and I'm just going to type in the link there so you know where I'm going. All right, now I'm going to jump back here, and we're going to scroll down till we find the specific instructions. So right here, translation of documents, this is where the information, whoa, that took off on me. Let's try that again. So right here, the translation of documents, this is the section that we're looking for. So you can see here, if your document is in a language other than English or French, and remember, sometimes the documents have English as well as your native language on them, and if they do, obviously they don't need to be translated. But you must provide IRCC with a copy, and you can see right here, right off the bat, of the original document, as well as a version translated by a certified translator. But that's not enough. So you can see right here, English or French translation, an affidavit from the person who completed the translations, and a certified photocopy of the original document. So great question. I really appreciated that one, Envis. And the reality is, this is one that has tripped up people before, and they have not included that original document. And guess what? Their application gets returned. And so great. We'll leave that one there. Okay, next question is from Vesha. And Vesha's question is, what percent of the duties and responsibilities of a specific NOC do you need to match? In my country, okay, so that's the first question. And this is a good one because lots of people really don't understand. Well, the ministerial instructions and basically the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, the regulations for that act, specifically state that in order to claim work experience for a particular NOC, you need to be able to demonstrate that you have performed a substantial number of the main duties for that position. So in your case, Visha, and lots of people are probably wondering about this, I have a secret to finding your correct NOC. So many of you know, right at the top here, that I have a podcast that I also do. And I'm actually in the process of releasing a few new episodes this fall. But here, you can see right here, I'm going to put a link, and I have done this before. I'm going to put a link right into our group again. So this is for this particular blog post that I did on how to figure it out. And in here, I've got specific instructions on what you need to do in order to actually meet the requirements of IRCC. And the substantial portion comes from the actual, like I said, the Immigration and Refugee Protection regulations. And you can see here in these ministerial instructions, and it's kind of hard to see. I wonder if we can blow this up. Okay, well, that's Canadian. That's the instructions for Canadian, but they're basically the same. Let me see here now. I'm in this. How do I get out of here? Get me out of here. Let's close that. Oh, that didn't work. That's awesome. Let's see here. Secret to finding your correct NOC. Let's go back in here again, and I'll try to do that again. Not quite sure how I managed to mess that up. Actually, I do know, because I'm trying to do too many things at once, talk coherently so that you guys can understand me, search on the website and read what I'm doing here and answer the questions. So I'd like to see anyone out there who's doing what I'm doing right now. I want to click on this one. So this is right from the ministerial instructions, and I don't know if I can blow it up. Oh, I can. Here we go. Okay. So one of the most important parts of this whole process is actually here. So in the ministerial instructions for express entry, Section 25 covers foreign work experience. And you can see here, it must be skilled in the first part here, full-time work or equivalent of part-time, must be acquired in the last 10 years, and then it must relate specifically to a 4-digit NOC code within the National Occupational Classification System. And it must have performed, or the person must have performed, the actions described in the lead statement for the occupation as set out in the knock, as well as, and here's the answer, a substantial number of the main duties, including all the essential duties. So this, guys, is the actual law. Lo and behold, Mark Holvey once again is sharing with all of you guys law. And why? Because this is the express entry law private Facebook group. This isn't Mark who's done his own application and then is really good at social media. So I create a following pretending I'm an expert. And then all of a sudden I've got 50,000 people following me. And all of my answers are based on pure experience. In other words, they aren't even founded in law because people don't even know what this is. Well, this is the law, guys. That's what I'm showing you right here. This is the actual law. And this is where that reference to substantial comes from. So let's take a look at the NOC 2016. We'll pull it up and we will, oh, I mistyped there. Let's try that again. There we go. So the NOC 2016 is the one that we're using right now. So let's pick a position. So let's say we are, well, I'll go with a lawyer. Why not? So I go with a lawyer. I pull it up right here, 4112. And when I'm going through here, you'll see this is the lead statement. So we need to perform, if we go back here to this bottom part, I'm going to blow this up nice and big so everybody can see it. And then see, I think everybody can see it. Well, it's kind of a little bit low there. Let's drop it off a bit. So the last paragraph here, you can see, or I should say, yeah, must have performed the actions described in the lead statement. What's the lead statement? Right here, lead statement. And you'll see this on every knock. So they advise clients on legal matters, represent clients before administrative boards, draft documents, contracts, wills, plead cases, represent before tribunals, courts of law, and they're employed in law firms, which I am, prosecutors' offices, and then, Quebec notaries are in similar fashion. So I do all of these. So, okay, so far, so good. Well, here are the main duties. And so as a lawyer, I need to be able to demonstrate that I've performed a substantial number of these. So what does substantial mean? Well, generally speaking, substantial means something more than half. So that would be and something more than maybe, what is it? What's a next describer? So half of them is 50%. Some of them would be less than 50%. Most of them, well, most or substantial, maybe around 70, 75%. So I kind of use that as a general guideline, about 75%. So if we have duties here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think I can count 4 and 8. So the first thing I do is I look and I say, okay, there's 8 duties here, but pay attention to this. This says may act as a mediator and may act as an executor. Well, if your duties say may, well, that means these aren't mandatory. So in many cases, although they're guidelines, if my client doesn't have one of these duties that are more optional because they say may, then I don't count those within the equation. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these, then how many, what's 75%? So if I performed, I'm getting my nice calculator here. If I did 4 of them, well, that's 66.666%. So if that's less than 75, then maybe I'm saying 5, which is 83%. So maybe performing 5 out of these 6 duties. But even that, guys, is not a hard and fast rule. So the key is substantial. You make your case and it flows from there. All right. So there's a super long question for Visha, but there's a ton of resources for you. And those who are listening, definitely there's some sources that are available to you. So the secret to finding your correct knock, we'll explain it in detail, and then you can go through the process. But I can also tell you that there's a lot of people who have reached out to me in the past, and probably I would say almost 70% of the people that book consultations with me, determining the correct knock is a component of their questions. Sometimes it may be small, sometimes it's big, a big deal, but that is one of the more common things that people book consultations with me for. So, and I know I've shared this with you guys in the past as well, but if you go to my website and just type in this, and I'll put this in the comments as well, you have the ability to book a paid consultation with me, and I can go over and check and make sure that that it's actually correct, that your knock is correct. Because if you make a mistake, it can wreck your whole application if you've selected the improper knock or the incorrect knock. All right. Okay. Great question. All right. Let's see who's next. So the next question that we have here, and I better make sure that I've got this all set up here. This question is from Sakina. And Sakina says, my common law partner's sister is Canadian. How can we prove that What are the documents needed? So Sakina, with this one, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to go back to this completeness check site, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of here, and I will show you something. So let's see if we can find it. I know it's here. I know it's here. Okay. So this section right here, proof of relationship to a relative in Canada. This is for obtaining those lovely brother or sister points. So here, let's take a look at it. So to validate a claim that you've got a sister who's a Canadian or permanent resident, remember, they must be residing in Canada for you to get those points. So, okay, so a copy of both sides of their citizenship documents or permanent resident card showing that they are actually a Canadian or a permanent resident. Evidence that they currently reside in Canada. So you have to go through and definitely demonstrate that. So residential lease, mortgage documents, utility bills, those are some of the examples that they provided. And remember that these documents have to show their address in Canada, and they should be recent. In other words, within 6 months. If they're not, then it's not going to fly, and you can get your application rejected, which some of our listeners have had that happen to them. And then proof of your relationship to them. Okay. So do you have birth certificates, long form that name both of you with the same parents? That's usually the easiest way to do it. And that's it. Now look at here. If an applicant claims a stepbrother or stepsister, there should be no evidence that the marriage or common law relationship between the parents of the stepbrother or stepsister has broken down. So you're no longer a stepbrother or stepsister if your parents are no longer together. So just a little tip. That was a great question. Really, really like that one. And, in all honesty, these could probably be, they're such great questions that, in all honesty, I think it would be almost beneficial for me to create separate little videos with all of these. Maybe I'll be ambitious one day, but at this stage, it's not the case. So, all right, Sakina, great question. Loved it. Thank you very much. Okay, next question is from Abhishek, and let's see what Abhishek has for us now. So Abhishek says, I'm a secondary school teacher in India. My duty is to teach computer science subjects to students. My qualifications is a Master of Computer Applications, but in India, a technical teacher does not require a Bachelor of Education degree. My NOC code is 4031. My question is Bachelor of Education degree compulsory for 4031? The NOC category for NOC category technical teachers. My second question is, if my points are 447, will I get an ITA? Okay, let me go back here. Once again, I've got to keep track of this time that I'm doing this stuff. Okay, so Abhishek, second question, with a score of 447, yes, I believe you've got a really good chance of getting an ITA. The first question you asked is something that I probably answer every single time I do an EE Live Q&A. Does my education need to match my work experience? So I'm going to go back here, share my awesome screen with you again, but this time I'm going to take you guys, not to the Canadian Immigration Institute. I'm going to take you to YouTube and see if it should come up here. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go to my channel, which is the Canadian Immigration Institute right here. Guys, I am almost at 10,000 subscribers. That is really cool. I guess people like the content. That's great. Okay, so if we go to the videos, there was a stretch where I did a number of tips of the day, which probably I should do these more often than these open-ended ones. But right here, does my education right here have to match my work experience? This is where you go. So if I click share here, I'm going to pull out this. I'm going to copy this, And then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to post it right in our group so that everybody's got it. This actually is working out okay. Okay, in here, this is where the, I'll go back here. This is where I answer this question in detail. But in short, because I want you guys to understand why, I'm not going to take the time to explain everything here, why education doesn't match. But the answer is it doesn't matter, okay? And so actually I'll flip back to lawyers here and I'll show you what Abhishek is talking about here. So in the employment requirements, a lawyer, you can see here, in order to practice, you have to have at least 2 or 3 years of undergraduate studies or a college program, a bachelor's degree from a recognized law school, and successful completion of a bar exam are all required to be a lawyer in Canada. And of course, licensing by provincial or territorial law society is required. So from a legal standpoint, if I screw up your file, then you can report me to the law society, which unlike the consultant regulator, actually takes complaints seriously, and I could be disbarred if for whatever reason I mismanaged your file or your money that you gave me or anything like that. But that's a separate discussion. Every job description within the National Occupational Classification System has this section, employment requirements. When you're claiming skilled work experience, and if I go back here, you will see that there is, in order to claim these points, you just need to fulfill these obligations, which is to show that you've performed a substantial number of the main duties and the activities in the lead statement. There's nothing about you having to actually have met the education requirements that we find right here because they don't apply. So your education does not need to match your work experience if it's outside of Canada. It doesn't, to claim points under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, okay? And for the, with that being said, I know, let's see if I can go back here to this again. And this is kind of tricky. I wonder if I go backwards. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, and then if we go back here, I want to show you guys something else. This is the Canadian work experience section. And you will see here that your Canadian work experience fits the same mold. It has to be skilled, full-time or a full-time equivalent in part-time work, acquired in the last 10 years. And you can see you must specify in your expression of interest the 4-digit code. Well, you do that in the information section of your profile or the EAPR. You select your NOC, and you have to must have performed the actions described in the lead statement. So even the Canadian work experience that you're claiming doesn't necessarily have to match with the NOC educational requirements. All right? Okay, I'm bouncing all over the place here. Okay, great question. I think that was awesome, and that should have covered it. Okay, let's go back here. And Haroon says, excellent. Thank you. Oh, and then Shivan says, can you help with a job offer? No, I can't, my friend. I get probably as many questions of that as I do with anyone else. I do not offer relocation or recruiting or anything like that, job placement in Canada. So no, I can't. And for the rest of you, I'm not going to answer the questions until we get through these ones here. Okay, next one on our list here. This one is from Mary. I'll make sure I got this right here. Mary asks, my question or query is with regards to proof of funds. I'm holding a savings account with myself as the first and dad as the second holder. So a parent, so it's a joint account. Frankly speaking, the money is insurance payment that was due to me for which I have proof. Will this be a problem? Should I put a letter of explanation to state the same? Please help. Okay, Mary, usually when we're doing this, the source of funds, I always like to disclose or explain where it came from. If there was a large amount of money that was deposited into your account in the past 6 months. But even before then, I like to always try to include an explanation as to where large sums of money came. If it's just your payroll and your savings, then that's not a big deal. But in your case, yeah, I would probably include it. You're entitled to the funds. It's a joint account with your father. So I would probably, it wouldn't even hurt to include an affidavit from your father saying that the funds are for your exclusive use to settle and immigrate to Canada. That wouldn't hurt at all. Is it mandatory? Probably not, but it's something that you can use to make sure that there are no doubts in the mind of an officer. Great question, Mary. Okay, this next one is from Darren. And Darren says, I did a 4-year undergrad degree program in engineering. In my transcript, there's a start date of the degree, but no end date. So the question is, it does show the last semester in the 4th year, but no date of completion. The status is degree completed. So what's the end date? Can I use the date of my convocation? Well, you know what? In all honesty, if there's no end date on your degree, the date of convocation is a great date to use. So that's the one probably, Darren, that I would use. And why there was no end date? There should be somewhere where the school can provide you with the date that you completed it. I'm just trying to think here. You can always go back to the institute if it's possible, Darren, and just ask them to provide you with a letter for the date that you actually completed your degree. But ultimately, that a letter of explanation and using the date of convocation is totally fine. I don't see any issues with that at all. Okay, next question is from Ramiz, and Ramiz asks the following. Dear Mr. Mark Holthe, I'm writing to you regarding Express Entry Live Q&A. I've got a question about self-employment work experience. Whew. Now this one is a discussion all in and of itself. So let's see what Ramiz has to say about self-employment. One of the documents requested is articles of incorporation or other evidence of business ownership. What can be that other ownership evidence? Should my business be legally registered for it to be recognized by CIC, and is incorporating in Delaware while I am not a U.S. citizen or live in U.S. without tax reports recognized by CIC? Ramiz, you are not going to just go and incorporate after the fact, because remember, you're looking back historically, the work experience you're trying to claim now. If you are nowhere near Express Entry and you're just starting the process and are really wise and are thinking about things well in advance, then at that stage, great. Yeah, consider incorporating and running everything out of an incorporated entity. That's a good decision. But many people operate as sole proprietors. And in those cases, in terms of other ownership evidence, sometimes we'll include tax filings. If you have an accountant that's helping with your income, literally it can be anything that do you own or have a lease for your business? So the list can be as long as you can possibly make it. Do you have advertising or promotional materials? Do you have other things from any other third party? Do you have utility bill or things like that? Any other payments or expenses that your business has to make? Do you have a separate bank account? So these are all different examples that you can possibly consider. But great question. Self-employment is one of those areas that is really difficult to really canvas in in a live Q&A like this. And it's another one that people commonly book paid consultations with me to help them sort out, because it's not easy. And if you don't get it right, then you're going to lose your opportunity to immigrate to Canada. Okay. This next question is from Rahil. And he says, hope you're doing good. Me and my wife are on a work permit in Canada right now. She's going to be the main applicant. Great. She's got a knock 0 job. So from when her experience can be counted, from the day she completed her studies or from the day she applied for the work permit. Okay, I'm assuming, Rahil, that your spouse is probably on a postgrad work permit. And so in these cases, you can actually start to count the work experience from the date you submitted your postgrad work permit application. So if you're working after school and you've submitted your postgrad work permit application, but you haven't yet received a decision, you can actually start counting your work experience from the date that the application was submitted. So it may take 2 or 3 months to get the postgrad. So you can actually claim those years. Okay, and my second question is, she has 3 years of back home experience. So how can we claim that? What documents do we require for that? Well, that goes right back to, and I'll jump on here. This goes right back to, let me close this up a bit here. All right. It goes to here, and then we go to find work experience. There it is. So right here is on this completeness check website is exactly where you have the information that you need to understand what or how you can prove your work experience. So it's a reference letter, and here's all the details, and then it has to include all the positions with the company and then the following details: job title, duties, responsibilities. So it's a reference letter. That's what you do from the company in accordance with these instructions. All right, great question. Okay, next one is Cyril. And this one, my husband, who is the first applicant, has the most work experience in one knock, 2175, which is the knock he wants to choose for the primary occupation. He can do this job with his degree. However, the title of his degree matches a different knock. So my question is, can he still choose knock 2175 for primary occupation, saying he qualified to practice in this occupation with his degree, even though it's not the same title as the degree? I hope this makes sense. Cyril, this is the exact same question. Does my education need to match my work experience? And we covered that at length. So that is a repeat. So I'll encourage you to go back if you're listening to this. And I'm trying to remember which one it was now. Well, whatever. One of the previous questions that we just covered. So I think that covers that one, Cyril. So if you're listening to this EE Live Q&A, you will see that it has been previously covered. All right, guys, we have reached the 35-minute mark, and I have successfully managed to get through all of these questions. I've even gotten little notes on there to timestamp them. So in the description, I'm able to provide little quick links, especially for all of you YouTubers. All you have to go down is check in the description for the YouTube page, and you'll see a link that will help you to jump to the section that relates to specific questions. And so some of you are probably wondering, what are you talking about, Mark? Well, for those of you who want to be rewarded by joining my YouTube channel, if you go to the YouTube channel, let me just pull it up here if I can find it. Oh, maybe I closed it. Let's go back to YouTube. Oh, all right, here we go. I'll show you what I mean. And I don't think it works as well with Facebook. I don't think Facebook can do it. With Facebook, in the description, I try to put a timestamp so that you can find the actual answers to the questions. And if you go to my videos and the most recent one, so that's here, proof of funds. So when I click on here, and then I look at if I click on show more here, you can see that I've actually gone through and tried to list as many of the questions that were asked as possible. And so all you have to do is click on here, and it automatically jumps to that section within the video. So pretty awesome, hey? Another value-added service from your fine, friendly Canadian immigration lawyer, Mark Holthe. All right, guys. Okay, let's go back here, and now I will take live comments. So if I do not get to your comment, please be kind. I am doing the very best that I can, and I want to remind everybody time and time again, if you want to book, if you have a question that I don't answer, or I choose not to answer it because it's too specific, and I have had some people send me emails that they asked me questions that were really about themselves qualifying or something so specific that it wasn't of any benefit to the other members of the group, then that's where a paid consult is required. I don't give specific advice. I just give information that's general, that applies to everyone that's listening to these groups. And that's how I deal with the fact that our group here, if I go back to our page, actually I don't want to, I'm going to go back here. If you guys go to our main page for Express Entry, you will see here in the right that we have 118,619 members. It is impossible for me to answer all of the questions, or really any questions anymore, within the comment section. Every once in a while, excuse me, I'll jump on and I'll try to answer questions if I have some spare time or I'm traveling or whatever. But because my law firm demands the time, and because I have paid clients, they're the ones that get my time. But because I care about you guys and I actually want to provide assistance and help to you as much as I can, I do these live Q&As. So people can send their questions in, they can attend live, and then I post all of it on my YouTube, on the YouTube group within there, the YouTube channel, as well as our private Facebook group. So that's how I give back. And I would be questioning whether anybody else is in a similar position to me out there, a lawyer who is actually taking the time to do this like I am. And I'll be honest, it's been quite a struggle because it has impacted directly on the viability of my practice. And so I am able to continue doing this because people, and I'll be honest, because people book paid consultations, they retain me to represent them, and they go on and they purchase a subscription right here to my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. And so as people purchase that, which I put a whole bunch of time into, those funds make it possible for me to do this every day, or I should say every Tuesday at noon. All right, let's jump in here now. We are just about back to the section, the answering your questions. So let me see what we got here for questions. Actually, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can see more. All right, so, and understand that I don't always see every question, and keep your questions concise, not long, because I don't want to have to read 2 or 3 paragraphs. So keep them small, okay? Because if they're too long, I'll skip past them. Okay, Sunny says, I'm currently on a work permit. Can I extend with my work permit without LMIA? Sunny, I'm assuming you've got a postgrad work permit. No, you can't extend it without a labor market impact assessment. There may be other options potentially, but that's where the lawyer in me kicks in, and it would require paid consultation to see if there are any other options. But generally speaking, if you're on an expiring postgrad work permit in Canada, then the reality is you're going to have to convince your employer to apply for a labor market impact assessment, or get your express entry application filed as quickly as possible, get your profile submitted, get your ITA, file your EAPR, and when you file your electronic application for permanent residence, if your current postgrad work permit is within 4 months of expiring, you can apply for a bridging work permit to extend that time without needing an LMIA. So that's the route that you would probably go, Sunny. Okay, great question. Okay, Shivan says, Mark, is there any way for folks like me who are at CRS 416 to get PR? My friend, it is going to be really, really unlikely. Unless you actually have a connection with Canada, you're studying or working in Canada, it is very, very difficult for people that are at that level to be able to qualify. And we've never seen it come below 440 points this year. And I don't anticipate, if we have another draw tomorrow or a week from tomorrow or whenever they decide to do it, I highly, highly doubt that it will drop even below 440. So I have lots of consults, Shivan, with people. In fact, I had one yesterday, and I'm sure you can check the reviews. I have lots of consults with people who are in your situation to canvass every option, and we talk about the implications, the things that you can potentially do, and understand everybody who doesn't qualify is considering studying in Canada now. Well, our study permits went from 250,000 a year, at least international students, to over 500,000. And so what's the result? Well, the result is in 2 or 3 years, when they're all finished school and they're working in Canada on postgrad work permits, all that's going to happen is that those CRS totals are going to increase correspondingly, because there's going to be so many more people that are getting 15 or 30 points for school and another 35 points for Canadian work experience or more. So I always have a very, very candid discussion with clients, and Shivan, you might want to consider just booking a paid consult and we can talk about it. I charge for a 30-minute consult. I charge $210 Canadian. Okay, Razib says, I haven't landed yet. What type of changes in health conditions do I have to report? Well, you have to follow the instructions in your immigration medical. And so if they say that you need to follow up and provide and see a doctor, then just do it. That's an important component to it. Okay, I'm just looking at, we got it locked here a little bit. Come on, free up. Razib says, I visited a doctor due to constipation. Do I need to report that? No. When it comes to reporting, guys, it's specifically in accordance with the instructions in your medical and in your approval. So you're going to get a doctor anyways, and ultimately you just have to follow the excuse me, the instructions that you've been given. I'm just going to grab a quick drink here. Okay. All right. Next question. Gurmeet says, anybody with 6 bands can get express entry? No, Gurmeet, the likelihood is extremely low. You just won't rank high enough. Unless you're actually working in Canada, and you could potentially go through the Canadian experience class as a NOC B worker, but the likelihood is actually quite low, quite remote. Okay, Newman says, can you tell us when the draw related to Federal Skilled Trade Program occurs? Not a clue, my friend. No one knows, at least no one who is in a position like me. Now, I am on the Canadian Bar Association's national executive, but that knowledge is not released to us. I'm going to Ottawa to attend meetings with immigration and to just advocate and support our wonderful immigration lawyer group across Canada. and to advocate for our clients. But yeah, they don't release that information. Okay, Jahan says Master of Commerce, but worked as a primary school teacher. Okay, that one I just finished answering, so I think that question should be already taken care of. So I won't need to go through that one at all. Um, let's see here. Okay. Yeah, so Jahan, you've got that one already answered. Okay, Razib says I have the minimum required cash that I will have during my landing. However, I'm in the U.S. with my student visa and planning to buy a car, which will cost around $12,000. I want to take a loan since I don't want to burn my cash and pay monthly for my salary, which might take a couple of years. I want to drive the car, but I will buy during landing. Do you think it's going to be okay? Well, in all honesty, I would land first and then buy a car when you're in Canada. I'm not sure when you're planning on immigrating to Canada. If you're coming to do a soft landing and then go back and finish school, well, ultimately you have to be able to present that you've got the funds available for you when you land, at the time that you land. So I recommend that you hold off until after landing. Okay, Jasmine says, Express Entry, the only way to immigrate to Canada? I mean, if I hire an immigration lawyer, will it help anyway? Jasmine, immigration lawyers who know what they're doing will be able to canvass all the various options. But if you have no connection to Canada and you are looking to immigrate, then Express Entry, as an economic immigrant, then Express Entry is the route that you will go through. Some provincial nominee programs may have programs that open up and close periodically, but generally speaking, Express Entry as an economic immigrant is the way. Now, is there other things? Well, yeah. There's, some companies are willing to hire and support people for work permits, and then they can transition to permanent residence. Other times, people meet their true love in Canada, a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, who then sponsors them under the family class or the spouse or common law partner in Canada class. Some limited candidates are entrepreneurs who have either social or cultural, or they've got some renown in the arts. Like they're very, very advanced. There are some programs to support permanent residence of these individuals that are actually self-employed, not entrepreneur. There are investor programs that do exist in Quebec, if basically to buy your way into Canada through an investment. But all of these different types of options, I canvass in the context of my consultation. And the difference between hiring a lawyer or hiring some consultant who just wants to take your money is pretty simple. You're going to actually get advice from the lawyer that is going to say, you don't have any options, or the only option is Express Entry. But at least that lawyer is going to canvass. Well, I can only speak for myself. I actually canvass all of those options and tell you whether or not you have a chance. So you're not going to blow your money. You're not going to waste your money trying to apply through some asylum claim or some humanitarian and compassion application that doesn't have a prayer of getting approved, because I don't believe in advising people to do that when they don't have a chance. So you book a consult with me and I give you that advice and you can rely on it. And if the answer is no, you don't have a chance, then at least you know. And then you can reevaluate your priorities, determine if maybe going to another country is better, and you're not wasting all your money trying to pursue something that you don't even have a chance of securing. Okay, so there's the answer. Okay, that's a great question. All right. Javed said, would you please give some idea about Ontario PNP, International Student Stream? If I get job offer from employer, what documents are needed from employer, please? Javed, this isn't something, I don't go through all the PNPs within these, so I'm trying to just limit these questions specifically to the general provisions of Express Entry, okay? And so I'm going to skip yours, Javed. That's not something that I'm going to be able to answer in the context of this live Q&A. There's just too much involved with it, and it would open up a whole different program and a whole different discussion, and the various PNPs are changing all the time, and so I'm very, very reluctant to give advice here, because I could give it today and tomorrow they could decide to make a change, and then people would be trying to rely on it. So PNPs, I'm very cautious. I only do those via paid consultations. Okay, Anand says, I have a bachelor's degree in pharmaceutical sciences, which is considered as a master's degree in the CRS points. My question is, if I enroll in a new diploma, does this increase my points? Or have I need to aim to a doctorate degree to add more points? If you have a master's that's recognized as a master's, that's worth more than 2 or more degrees. And so a master's is the only way you're going to increase points is if you have an actual doctoral degree. So that's the answer to that one. Okay, Bipasha says, I'm from Bangladesh. My profile status background check is showing processing from past 10 months. I got an ITA more than a year. Why taking so long? What to do now? Bipasha, this is something that I cannot answer. I am more than happy to have a paid consultation with you to look through it, to investigate with immigration, to try to figure out where it's coming, and in some cases, if needed, file something called a Mandamus application to force them to process. But without knowing the whole situation and everything that's going on within your application, it's difficult for me to give you any specific advice. I just can't say. Understand that at any point in time, the government has their service standard is that 80% of the applications will be processed in 6 months. What that means is 20% of the applications may not be. And you also need to understand, if they come back and ask you to provide further or more information, then the processing times are out the window. So the moment they come back and say, hey, you need to update this or you need to provide this additional information, then the processing times that they've listed no longer apply. But for some people, the reality is they are stuck in limbo. And that for that reason, sometimes a Mandamus application is the thing that actually helps to force something along if need be. Okay. And I'm looking at all the comments here. I love this. I see Bisma Ferdus is angry. Oh no, Bisma, I'm so sorry. Why are you angry? Okay. Okay. Alok says I passed my medical. Now I'm waiting for PPR. How much approximate time it will take? I can't answer that. I really can't. These are things that are just outside of my ability to answer. Yeah, it can take a few months. It can take more. I can't even answer that. Okay, Annis, great session as always. Can you please talk to us about money restrictions by Canadian Customs when entering and leaving the country? Is there a maximum money that you're allowed to take with you if you're traveling out of the country? Thank you. Annis, we have a requirement to disclose any amount of money that you're bringing into Canada that's more than $10,000. So that's the restriction that you have. When you're coming into Canada Customs, to the port of entry, and you're filling in your declaration card, if you're carrying with you more money than $10,000, then you have to disclose it. And that's your obligation. So it's as simple as that. So it's a matter of disclosing, not so much the amount that you're carrying. Okay, Razib says, in the PPR, it was stated to notify about changes in health. That's why I was wondering if I have to report occasional doctor visits as well. No, not occasional doctor visits. This is related to whatever the issue was that you had that required them to do follow-up examinations. Usually people that have had TB or other things like that, some form of communicable disease that is under control, or some other issue that will require follow-ups, then for protection of Canadian health, then that's usually why it is. Okay. Jasmine says, thank you. Hari says, my father deposited cash in my bank account. Can that be shown as gift deed? Yeah, you need to actually get a gift deed. Of course, the money has to be deposited into your account, but you actually need a formal gift deed from him. Okay, Sanjay says, hi, Mark. What is the difference between IP2, IP1, and IP2? I don't care about that stuff, man. Like the whole instructions in terms of each stage within the PPR process, within the EAPR process, I have a manual, a coding manual that is like this thick, that describes what all of the codes are and what they mean. And I know you guys are super, super anxious as to what each of these things mean, but I never ever get into that stuff. I know you can Google online and you can go, even within our group, people have posted some of that information. I don't usually bother with that at all, Sanjay, because it makes no difference to me. Knowing it doesn't advance it any faster. And then sometimes it actually causes people more stress because someone else has reached IP2 and they're still on IP1 and they're wondering, why has mine not advanced? Well, half of the time the officers, when they're going through the process, they don't update things. They may be working on something and they just haven't gone in and updated the system. So it's not, that isn't even an accurate representation of where you're at. Okay, Shivan says, thanks. Really appreciate your valuable input. You bet. And there's Bella. Bella, you'll never guess. I had to show them the picture. I had to show them this awesome picture right here of me and my wonderful little namesake. So I now that you're on, I just wanted to show you that. There's the awesome picture. Super excited. This, everybody, is Jayden Mark Hansky, who is the little boy. 1 year. This is his 1 year birthday party that they had. And wow, this is the greatest honor and just amazing experience in my life to have someone actually name their child after me. And so Bella, like, this is so cool. Very cool. Okay, I had to say that just because I saw Bella. Hi, Bella. Okay, Jasmine says, how do I book a consultation? Jasmine, you book a consultation by clicking on this link right here. If I can pull it up. Yes, you can send an email, Bella said, and you can also do that. Okay, so there's the link. You can click on that link, and that's how you start the process. Okay, let's see. Shezra says, hi, Mark, I need check on a, didn't finish it. Okay, that's got kind of stuck. And Bella just get all emotional. That's awesome. Okay, Bapasha says, we were asked to provide additional documents in last December, and after that, the status is the same. Oh, I am so sorry. We also added our newborn to our profile. Okay, so that explains it. I added newborn to one of my clients who was actually in the US, and it added 6 months more. My staff are walking by my window here waving at me. It added up to 6 months more onto the processing of their application. So it was over a year. So that's why it's languishing. Okay. Sarab says, sir, I have a good job offer in my country and I'm about to apply for PR. Should I switch my job and will it hamper my score if I don't complete 1 year with this new profile? You have an obligation to, well, once you've reached 3 years of skilled work experience in the past 10 years of foreign skilled work experience, you're not getting any more points for any work experience. So as long as you've got at least 3 years, then for the comprehensive ranking system, and I'll always qualify it because based on the federal skilled worker eligibility criteria, you need to make sure that you meet that selection criteria. And the pass mark for those various selection factors is 67 out of 100. So as long as you meet that, then all you need is 3 years to maximize your foreign work experience. So after that, once you've got that, you can do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You could be unemployed for the whole time until you get your application. It doesn't matter. Okay. Dannon says, hi, Mark, is a mortgage seen as lack of funds issue when showing proof of funds? I have enough cash to show besides it's just I have a mortgage. Any thoughts would be appreciated. I do not see a mortgage as prejudicial in any way. The only time I would see that is if the mortgage is maybe has payments of $10,000 Canadian a month. It's this massive mansion. And you've just recently received a gift deed from your father. And your monthly income is $1,500 Canadian. Well, you're going to need to explain that. An officer will look at everything holistically, and they will try to determine, based on all of the information before them, whether or not you actually have sufficient funds to settle in Canada. But a mortgage is an asset-backed loan. So how do you resolve it? Well, you sell the house. That's how you deal with it. And then there is no loan. And so often when I'm doing this with my clients, and I'm actually working with a client right now with almost the exact situation, in our letter of explanation, we just explained, look, this is a mortgage and we're disclosing it. And I have sufficient proof of funds and I have sufficient income. And this was, this is an investment to buy a home. And rarely, I can't see any circumstance where an officer is going to get worked up unless the payments on that mortgage are so high that clearly you're going to not have money to settle in Canada. Okay, good question. Okay, Anis, let's see, how are we doing for time here, guys? Oh, 58, 56. 1 more minute. I'll answer a couple more questions. Okay, do we have to proof fund when landing? Yes. I can access my bank account online. Would that be acceptable proof? Yeah, you know what? That's what I tell my clients. Bring a copy of your most recent bank statement. And that shows that your funds are in there. And that's usually enough for an officer. All right. Luyan says, if I submit a PNP application, I receive, let's see, it's jumping around here because you guys are trying to post comments. Let's see. there it is. If I submit a PNP application and I receive the confirmation that I submit, how long it take before I can enter with a work visa? Oh, I can't answer that one. That one depends entirely on which PNP program you're applying under, and there's a number of different factors, and I can't answer that one. Okay, let's see here. Shezra says, hi, Mark, I need to check on a job offer I got from an agent in my home country. They said they would arrange a job in Montreal to work for a research project. Shezra, 99% of the time, that is a complete scam. You must make some form of contact with the employer. Canadian employers don't just hire you without actually having a chance to vet your credentials or understand who you are. So I would be seriously concerned that this lovely agent that you've engaged may be scamming you. But I don't know for sure. But yeah, it's I just don't believe it's real or true. You know what, Shezra, you can send me a private message and I'll take a look at it. It'll probably take me about 2 seconds to see. But they have to have secured a labor market impact assessment, and highly, if you have had no contact with a company, highly unlikely. Okay, Rohit says, I have a gap of approximately 6 months in my work history. Will it cause any effect? It depends. It depends. Are you including that as a part of your your primary knock? And if that's the case, then yeah, a 6-month gap in your work history will be a problem because you need to show that you've got at least 1 year of continuous skilled work experience in your primary knock. But if it's just a break between different work histories that you want to include after you've actually met the minimum entry criteria for the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the CEC or FS Federal Skilled Trade Program, whichever you're qualifying for, then once you've met that minimum threshold, then yeah, gaps don't matter. It doesn't make a difference. Okay. All right. I'll finish off with Ehi here. He says, can one's brother issue a gift deed? Sure, that's possible. You can do that. I've always taken the position that family give money, friends loan money. So it's always up to the discretion of the officer whether they believe that the money has actually been freely given and it's not a loan. But they're going to have a whole lot more chance being successful with a family member, a close family member, immediate family member giving you money versus a friend. All right, so there we go. Another awesome Express Entry live Q&A here with your host, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher. I should be getting this the description up with the links here shortly. If you missed something and you want to watch it again, you can probably track it down on our Facebook group here, or you can go to the Canadian Immigration Institute, and in there, you will be able to watch the videos all in order, easy to find, and there you have it. All right, guys, I'll end off just once again by saying the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. Guys, that's where I've embedded a ton of this information. In fact, a lot of the questions that you're asking here are already all embedded in the Q&A section. And in fact, if you go here and I share my screen with you and I go back and open up the actual complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself, let's see here if I can access this critter. There it is. I think I can log in, see if I've got my automatic login, because I'll show you guys the Q&A section. Oh, it's thinking. Okay, here we go. Log in. There. Okay. So once I'm in here, I'm going to go to my courses and I'm going to click on this one and I will show you. This is exactly what you see. So not only, what is going in? Already enrolled. I know I'm already enrolled in the course. Here it is. So this is what you see. So each of these lessons, everything from introduction, learning the basics, submitting your Express Entry profile is here. What to do before you even think about doing it, registering for your MyCIC account, all that's here. Completing your Express Entry profile. Each of these lessons you can see, and I've got how long they are. They're short, some are short little lessons, others are longer, but they're all designed to help you with every facet of it. And so this is the complete walkthrough. And then the EAPR, well, receiving your invitation to apply, what to expect, all that kind of stuff, then completing the EAPR forms. And then as you go down here, uploading your documents, which is a pretty popular one, because in here, if I click on it, it automatically starts. So I'm going to just pause it here as soon as it stops. There, I'm going to pause it. When you go down here and you look at it, I actually have a ton of links, information, instructions, and then sample just about everything in here. Okay, gift deeds and trade certifications and criminal records and medical exams and travel documents and everything here. There's samples of the document so that you know you've got the right one. But that is not it. After going through all of this awesome instruction, I've got a ton of really awesome resources to help you. And this is all in the massive member resource section. So basically it has all of the various questions, the most common ones, all organized. You can see here, and it keeps going. But in here, I have a link to a ton of really, really awesome YouTube videos that I've done. Just a ton of resources that are all available for people who are at all phases of the express entry process. So, and this is where I'll tell you guys right now, in this EE Live Q&A, if a person reaches out to me and lets me know, and this is an exclusive offer to people that are actually watching these videos, I'm still offering the whole course at 50% off the full price. And so the regular price is $497 US, but I'm offering lifetime access still at a 50% off rate to people who actually take the time and watch these videos. I don't advertise it, but if you reach out to me and say, hey, Mark, can I take advantage of the 50% off lifetime access? Then I give it to you. And that's to reward you guys who are actually watching this video. And yeah, so just send me a message, send me an email right here to mholthy@stringham, or those of you who are watching live on Facebook, you can send me a Facebook Messenger and I'll send you the access code so that you can log in. And so when you're going through this process, let's see if we can find the main one again. Oh, it's already got in here. I'm just going to type in here my Canadian Immigration Institute so that you guys can see it. I'm going to share my screen. So in here, wait a minute. I'm not even sure if I showed you guys that. Did I show it to you? Oh, maybe I did. Everything that I was talking about, and you're probably like, Mark, you're not showing the screen. It's all right here, okay? So, excuse me, you can see everything that I was talking about. You can actually see it. It's pretty much visible when you go to the landing page. But this is everything here. And then this is the member resource section that I also have shared. And there's a ton of easy access, easy accessible information that's in there to basically, it gives all the answers to the questions that people have asked me over the past years of express entry. Okay. And so when you go in, actually, I'll just jump back here and I'll go back into this login period. If you send me an email or you send me a private message, and when you're logging in, you click on enroll in the course, and then it's the lifetime enroll, lifetime access. You click enroll right here. And then once you're in here, all you have to do is enter in the add coupon, the coupon that I give you here, and it will reduce it by 50%. Okay. And that's lifetime access. But if you are interested in you just want to get in quick and check it out and see what it's like, I offer a full 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. And when it comes to purchasing the course itself, you can also choose the monthly membership subscription, which is $97 US a month. And if you don't want to continue it, then you just have to log in to your profile, and it will allow you to unsubscribe, essentially. And you can see right here, manage subscriptions. When you click on that, it then allows you to go in, and it will show here your subscription, and then you can just choose to cancel it. And it's as simple as that. But it automatically enrolls the monthly subscription. It automatically renews each month until you decide to cancel it. And I did that because a lot of people were complaining that their subscriptions were ending, and then they'd have to go in and log in again, and they'd lose their information that they were working on. And so by automatically renewing it, then it just makes it easier for people who are choosing the monthly subscription. But remember to cancel it if you no longer want to. Otherwise, it will just keep rolling. All right, guys. I think we've covered everything that I can think of. It's been a great EE Live Q&A. Thanks for all those who've tuned in today. Remember, every Tuesday at noon is when I do this. And if you'd like to book a paid consult, you can totally do that. Check out the links below. And otherwise, I wish you guys all the best as you're navigating this crazy world that we call express entry. Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, signing off.